Hey guys, I'm Seth, and welcome back to the Team Fortress 2 weapons tier list video. This is part 2. I'm going to be covering the defense classes, Demo Man, Heavy, and Engineer. Thank you for the recent support. I really appreciate it. It's actually kind of insane that one of my videos got as many views as it did, 6,000 currently as of the time of recording. I'm not really used to that, so I thought it was really cool, and thank you so much for the support. I've gotten a lot of subscribers lately. Even though it's still in the double digits, it's a lot for me. But yeah, so I'm gonna do Demo Man now. I'm gonna try to be a little faster in this video, but I think the sticky bomb launcher is Demo Man's best weapon. I think it's pretty obvious that this is the strongest damage dealing item in the game. Maybe the rocket launcher competes for the title, but in my opinion, the stock sticky bomb launcher is the strongest weapon in the entire game. It just can do basically everything. The only issue with it is that it's slow to reload and it's slow to get that damage out. But even then, it's so powerful that it's just completely offset. And then the other sticky bomb launchers, I'm gonna place like this. Scottish Resistance could honestly go down here, but Quickie Bomb Launcher is just like compared to the sticky bomb launcher, it loses out on that mid-range damage, but it is much better at like that close range and long range damage. I think it belongs in A tier, just not quite as strong as the sticky bomb launcher. Scottish Resistance is better for traps. It's really fun to use. It's just not quite like you want it to be speedier. If you're using this thing for direct damage mostly, or the stock sticky bomb launcher for direct damage mostly. So this thing kind of just limits you to traps sometimes. You can sticky spam with it. It's just nowhere near as effective. And this is honest. I'm gonna put this down here. The sticky jumper. It's just free mobility at the cost of a secondary weapon that can deal damage. So it's not always practical, but it is pretty good in the right circumstances. There's that like the fabled Badwater spawn camping demo strategy where you just jump past the entire enemy team and go kill them at their spawn with your stock weapon or with your primary weapon, sorry. But yeah, I don't think this thing is quite as good as the rest of Demo Man's weapons. Really quick, let's just get the ones that need buffs out of the way. These two, the caber and the parachute. Parachute I talked about in in the video where I rank soldiers' weapons, I mean. And the caber just the downsides are just too much for not enough. It's a meme that can be effective, but just please buff it. I don't know why it got nerfed so hard. I remember when this thing was like the sniper one-shotter thing and the medic one-shotter thing. It was still, but yeah, no. This thing can put in work, but it's basically just a suicide bomber strategy. But yeah, just buff this. I think the stock grenade launcher and the iron bomber are about on par with each other. I think most people can agree. I'd say the iron bomber might have the edge, but honestly, it's so hard to tell because they're so similar. Just like they're just both good. Like you can't go wrong with either one. I'm gonna do the loose cannon next. It's really good against players, but it loses against buildings. This has got to be one of the most fun weapons in any video game ever. It is just so satisfying, and if you're fighting a demo man who knows how to use this thing properly, it is so scary because they can just delete you immediately. It's crazy. Moving on, the lock and load is my favorite demo man primary. I like the extra range a lot. I like the damage against buildings a lot. It's just very good side grade, but it definitely does lose against the other three. This is the weakest primary option, but it's still very effective, very good. You can put in some good work with it. Yeah. I don't know where to put the boots personally because I don't play Demo Knight that much, but I'm gonna put him here in B tier just like as a whole to represent Demo Knight because I think he's a step below regular Demo Man in terms of viability. And I'm talking about full Demo Knight and Hybrid Knight here, but just you're losing out on your sticky bomb launcher and grenade launcher sometimes, but yeah, it's still Demo Knight's still viable, but I just don't think it's quite as viable as regular Demo Man. I'm gonna put all three of the shields in the same tier, just because I don't think there's one that's worse than the others, and I don't think that there's one that's just better than the others. I think these three are perfectly balanced in accordance to each other. This one is just tanky, this one's damaged, this one's turny. Um, I'd say Tide Turner and Charge and Charge are best on Hybrid Knight. Splendid Screen is the best on Full Demo Knight, but sometimes Charge and Charge is better. like with the Persian Persuader, which I'm gonna put in A tier by the way. I'll talk about that in a sec. But yeah, I don't think the shields are. I think the shields are really well balanced. It's actually pretty cool how there's not one that overshadows the other two. But yeah, they're still very fun, very viable. And of course you can get those sick trimps with the Tide Turner, but it's not always practical. But yeah, so Persian Persuader, we're gonna talk about that for a sec. Um, it's just a it's just a good weapon. It just gives you your charge back instantly on kill at this point. So like, yeah, you can just chain charges and nothing can really stop you unless you mess up a charge or miss a swing. But yeah, it's a very balanced weapon in the context of Demo Knight. The Eyelander and Half Zatoichi are contenders for best Demo Knight sword. They both effectively make you invincible. The Zatoichi with its overheal and this with its extra health and speed. The Eyelander with its extra health and speed. But there's both very good. I honestly think both of them could be in nerf tier, but I don't think they're quite there. In my opinion, they could be in nerf tier. They could. I honestly think that they're here in A tier is just fine. They're very powerful swords. Definitely the best too. What does belong in nerf tier is the Skull Cutter, because random crit should not have no business being on Demo Knight at all. And the extra damage just snowballs into more damage that just turns you into an unstoppable killing machine. But it's crazy, like how if you keep rolling crits, then this thing just shreds through the enemy team. It's a little insane. Um, Everybody knows the bottle's the best for regular Demo Man. The bottle, I don't have anything to say about it. It's just good in the context of regular Demo Man. I don't think it's very good on Demo Night, but it's still pretty good. People sleep on the Pain Train, and honestly, you're not the bullet vulnerability does not really matter that much because just I don't think it drops you below any actual thresholds. This thing basically just gives you free capture rate. And I mean, sure, heavy can kill you 10% faster, but like, does that really matter? If you're near a heavy, you're probably gonna die anyways if he's got his sights on you. So yeah, honestly, the pain train is A tier. Yeah. Um, it is useless on capture the flag and other game modes that don't utilize capturing points, but yeah. And the Claymore is just good. Just longer charges are good. Probably the best hybrid knight sword. But yeah, it's just good. Yeah, that's what I think about Demo Man. Let me know what you think about the Demo Knight stuff in particular, because I'm not really qualified to rank viability of the Demo Knight weapons because I don't play them that much. But yeah, just let me know what you think. I'd like to hear some feedback on this. So anyways, let's move on. So next up, we're doing the heavy weapons guy. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna get the miniguns out of the way first. Stock minigun and Tomislav are about on the same level. Extra range, extra damage on this one. I personally use the stock minigun, but I think the Tomislav is still very, very good. It's another situation where they're just both so good that like they're just interchangeable. It's kind of down to preference. I think an argument can be made that the Tomislav is just better objectively. Yeah, I'll put it above the stock minigun. But yeah, they're both good. They're both great. Natasha, the slow effects can be completely negated by strafing. And again, like I said before, I don't think stun or slow mechanics have any place in Team Fortress 2 unless they're very finely tuned. Like so hot take, I think Air Blast knockback is mostly fine. And I also think that the loose cannon and force of nature are a good example of how to do knockback effects right. But this one just slows and it's just annoying to play against. Like what the heck, man? Like this is the worst minigun. Just completely rework it. Um, Brass Beast, it's okay. Definitely, I think it's the highest DPS weapon in the entire game. I might be wrong. The stickies might have higher DPS if they're all laid out, but this thing is insane DPS, insane kill times. Really, really strong, but it makes you so slow. Oh my gosh, it's so vulnerable too. But yeah, it's a fun weapon. It's just not always as good as the other options. And I think the Huolong heater's pretty good too. It consumes ammo faster, and it's pretty underrated, honestly. The extra damage of burning players is really good, and there's always going to be like a pyro on your team in casual because he's such a popular pick. But yeah, so like just the damage bonus can work. It's just, and if you like sneak up on somebody and light them on fire, it's pretty good too. It's not quite as good as the other two above it, but it's still pretty good in its own right. I actually think shotguns and heavy are pretty good. Family business is definitely the best one, and I think panic attack is the worst one. Shotguns on heavy, I think, are all right. Honestly, I might move them down a tier. They're pretty dang good on heavy because they cover his primary weapon's weakness, where you have to fully commit to it. And sometimes you can just, and the fat scout meme is kind of effective sometimes. But yeah, you're basically just a slower scout with these sometimes. Um, they're pretty dang all right on heavy. Panic attack is the worst one just because it has the worst range and heavy can't really close it on the enemy. Honestly, might put it down here. But yeah, the other two are good. Yeah, I'm gonna move the family business up. But yeah, all three of these are really good for heavy, but the lunchbox items are pretty much way better. Sandwich, everybody knows it's really good. Banana, I also think is really good. 200 health for a faster recharge honestly might make this thing better than sandwich, but the sandwich wins because you can heal your teammates more effectively. But the banana is better for you for healing yourself. The sandwich is better for healing you and your teammates. And the Delicos bar is just the extra 50 health honestly is not that helpful, but it still can be pretty helpful. But it's just good. It's just okay. Um, Steak sandwich is a meme, but it's a pretty effective meme sometimes. No, it actually isn't. I lied. Um, it's just a complete meme. So, melees now. This thing should not be able to stun Ubered players, even though it's really funny when it does that. Just remove that. It's complete bullcrap. It's honestly hilarious. Fist of Steel are stupid. They give you too much health. I'll move them back to A tier, actually. They give you so much health. You can tank a fully charged sniper headshot, I'm pretty sure. Just really, really good. Uh, the Gru are okay. B tier, I'd say. They just let you move faster. It's free speed, but don't keep them out for too long or you'll be a heavy with 100 health, and that sucks. Eviction notice is terrible. I think it needs a rework because it's barely functional right now, like in the state it is. Um, just no damage at all. And the speed boost is fun. It's a meme, but they nerfed it just because they needed to nerf the Gru because competitive players got angry that heavy could move to mid too fast. But who cares? I don't care. Anyways, stock fists, the only thing they have going for them is they have a reliable taunt kill. But if you're going for taunt kills, just use the freaking mittens. Um, KGB is pretty good. Free crits are really good, especially with your shotguns and your Tomislav because they can rev up faster. And the warrior spirit sucks. You basically just die when you have this thing out. It's weird how it encourages melee combat, but then punishes you for melee combat. But yeah, no, that's what I think about heavy. The shotguns might be a controversial take. Um, but yeah, I don't really play heavy that much at all. He's my fourth least played class, I think. But yeah, let me know what you think. A couple of these might be controversial, but yeah. So last but not least, we're doing the engineer, and I actually made engineer, so I do think that I have. Ooh, hold on a minute. Let me fix that. So I do think that I have a little bit more of an idea of how everything is than compared to the rest of the classes. So let's just get started. I honestly don't know where to. I'm gonna do the gunslinger first. Mini sentries are really freaking annoying, but they're really effective sometimes. They let you play so much more aggressively. And it's just good all around. I honestly don't know where to put the gunslinger. Just I'm gonna put it in A tier just because I think it's just as viable as regular engineer. I honestly don't have a lot to say on it. So yeah, I think it goes in A tier. I think that's perfectly reasonable for it. The Jag is the best wrench, hands down. Just faster building speed is insane. Um, just completely counters one of Engineer's limiting factors, just like how it takes him a long time to get set up. And this thing basically just lets you set up way faster. So yeah, it's the best wrench, I'd say, yeah. Eureka effect, I would put in B tier. The ability to put your spawn point anywhere on the map is really good, and it's really good for engineering, but also it just lets you maintain your teleporter so well, which I do think is the engineer's most important building because it supports his team the most. The ability to skip the walk the front lines is crazy. So if you have a wrench that lets you basically just maintain that way better, I think it's really, really good. But yeah, I think the Eureka effect's really powerful. Honestly, it could go in A tier, but I do think that the slower build speed and the less ammo and the less metal from pickups is really annoying. But it's really, really good wrench. Really, really solid wrench. Probably my favorite wrench. The stock wrench is just good, and so is the Southern Hospitality. These two are about the same. Um, Southern Hospitality's stupid, dude. Like, I don't understand why it has the stats it has. Honestly, it should just be a completely unique wrench. But yeah, they're just good. It just does what it's supposed to do. Just decent. Yeah, but the Jag does do it better. On to the secondary weapons. I think the pistol's really good. My favorite engineer secondary weapon. It's just good support damage. It just makes me feel safer when I have the pistol, just because it's like, especially when you're running it with like the Rescue Ranger, the Widowmaker, just because sometimes you might not always just have damage in your primary weapon that you can use, so it's good to swap to your secondary and just put out a little bit of damage. This thing packs quite a punch too, so really it's just good. I hate the Wrangler. They should nerf the Wrangler. The shield just gives it way too much health. It basically makes your sentry invincible unless you have a spy go in and sap it, and then the engineer has to focus on taking out the sapper, or if you have like a really coordinated team push to take out the wrangled sentry. But yeah, I think the Wrangler's good, and I think it's broken when a person really knows how to use it. So yeah, the Wrangler would benefit from a readjustment. I don't think it should have the shield, but yeah. My favorite thing to do with the Wrangler is actually to sentry jump and get my sentry to places it shouldn't be. But in normal play, the Wrangler's just a little too strong. And I think the short circuit is really, really obnoxious to fight because it just completely disables projectiles and it's really annoying. I don't like it at all. It's just insane. It honestly should just be reverted back to the way it was because like, destroying projectiles outright is just completely overpowered, especially on the payload cart. Just like it's annoying as hell to fight this thing. But yeah, shotgun's up next. Widowmaker's really good. Just effectively has infinite ammo. I love the Widowmaker. The stock shotgun's also really good. Just you can never go wrong with this, but I think the panic attack on engineer is probably better than the stock shotgun just because it's more consistent. And even though it has less range than the stock shotgun, it's still pretty dang reliable and good. Frontier Justice I think is pretty good. I'm actually going to move these two wrenches down real quick and I'll explain why in a sec. But Frontier Justice is really fun. The crits are crazy. And if you have a sentry with like 5 kills, you get a ton of crits and you can just go mad on the enemy team. And it's pretty funny whenever a medic ubercharges a crit Frontier Justice engineer, and it actually works pretty dang well too. But yeah, but otherwise it's objectively worse than the shotgun. So unless you when you die, you lose all your crits, and that stinks. But yeah, and I moved these two wrenches down just because I just realized that I don't think that like these three wrenches, or no, these two I should say, Eureka Effect and the Jag just give you just a lot of benefits that these two just simply don't. I think they're still perfectly fine weapons, but like they just don't have that little bit of extra oomph that just like sells you. So like these two just have like really good upsides, but these two just like don't really have anything going for them compared to the other two. But yeah. Um Rescue Ranger I think is engineers overall. I think the overall engineer's best primary is the panic attack, but the Rescue Ranger is probably better. Um the ability to heal buildings and pick them up from the distance is really strong, especially in a situation where you want to stay out of the enemy team's line of sight. You can just shoot your sentry to heal it. and I think that metal cost is perfectly fair. But yeah, the Rescue Ranger is really good. Really, really fun weapon. It's one of my favorite weapons in the entire game. But yeah, and obviously the Thompson should be buffed because it's so bad. It barely works. Well, no, it does work. It just sucks because you can never hit the enemy because the projectile is so slow. And I also think that the Uber and cloak draining effect is just completely stupid to play against. And but it's balanced out by the fact that it is really hard to hit your shots with this thing. But yeah, I think it should just be like reworked. I have a couple ideas on how to rework, but I don't want to talk about them in this video because I might make a different video talking about how I would rework some weapons. But yeah, the Thompson obviously needs a buff. So yeah, that's what I think about engineers' weapons. I think these two up top are pretty agreeable. I don't know about everything else though. This is just in my experience. But yeah, that's what I think. Thank you for the recent support, by the way. Um, I hope I can continue making videos like this just for fun, just as a hobby. But yeah, it's really, really nice to see the comments spark discussion. And yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you disagree. And until then, I'll see you next time.